Section 28 of The Life and Death of Cardinal Wolsey. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain, read by John Greenman. Part 28. And at my repair I found him sitting at the upper end of the gallery, upon a trussing chest of his own, with his beads and staff in his hands. And espying me coming from the Earl, he demanded of me what news. Forsooth, sir, quoth I, the best news that ever came to you, if your grace can take it well. I pray God it be. What is it? Quoth he. Forsooth, sir, quoth I, my Lord of Shrewsbury, perceiving by your often communication that ye were always desirous to come before the King's Majesty, and now, as your most assured friend, hath travailed so with his letters unto the King, that the King hath sent for you by Master Kingston and 24 of the guard to conduct you to his Highness. Master Kingston, quoth he, rehearsing his name once or twice, and with that clapped his hand on his thigh, and gave a great sigh. Sir, quoth I, if your grace could or would take all things in good part, it should be much better for you. Content yourself for God's sake, and think that God and your friends hath wrought for you according to your own desire. Did ye not always wish that ye might clear yourself before the King's person? Now that God and your friends hath brought your desire to pass, ye will not take it thankfully. If ye consider your truth and loyalty unto our sovereign Lord, against the which your enemies cannot prevail, the King being your good lord, as he is, you know well that the King can do no less than he doth, you being to his Highness accused of some heinous crime, but cause you to be brought to your trial, and there to receive according to your demerits, the which his Highness trusteth, and saith no less, but that you shall prove yourself a just man to his Majesty, wherein ye have more cause to rejoice than thus to lament, or mistrust his favorable justice. For I assure you, your enemies be more in doubt and fear of you than you of them, that they wish that thing, that I trust they shall never be able to bring to pass with all their wits, the King, as I said before, being your indifferent and singular good lord and friend. And to prove that he is so, see ye not how he hath sent gentle Master Kingston for you, with such men as were your old true servants, and yet be as far as it becometh them to be, only to attend upon you, for the want of your own servants, willing also Master Kingston to reverence you with as much honour as was due to you in your high estate, and to convey you by such easy journeys as ye shall command him to do, and that ye shall have all your desires and commandments by the way in every place, to your Grace's contentation and honour. Wherefore, sir, I humbly beseech your Grace to imprint all these just persuasions with many other imminent occasions in your discretion, and be of good cheer. I most humbly with my faithful heart require your Grace, wherewith ye shall principally comfort yourself, and next give all your friends, and to me and other of your servants, good hope of your good speed. Well, well, then, quoth he, I perceive more than ye can imagine, or do know. Experience of old hath taught me. And therewith he rose up and went into his chamber to his close stool, the flux troubled him so sore, and when he had done he came out again, and immediately my Lord of Shrewsbury came into the gallery unto him, with whom my lord met, and then, they both sitting down upon a bench in a great window, the Earl asked him how he did, and he most lamentably, as he was accustomed, answered, thanking him for his gentle entertainment. Sir, quoth the Earl, if ye remember, ye have often wished in my company to make answer before the King, and I as desirous to help your request as you to wish, bearing towards you my good will, have written especially to the King in your behalf, making him also privy of your lamentable sorrow, that ye inwardly receive for his high displeasure, who accepteth all things, and your doings therein, as friends be accustomed to do in such cases. Wherefore I would advise you to pluck up your heart, and be not aghast of your enemies, who, I assure you, have you in more doubt than ye would think, perceiving that the king is fully minded to have the hearing of your case before his own person. Now, sir, if ye can be of good cheer, I doubt not but this journey which ye shall take towards his highness shall be much to your advancement, and an overthrow of your enemies. The king hath sent for you by that worshipful knight Master Kingston, and with him 24 of your old servants, who be now of the guard, to defend you against your unknown enemies, to the intent that ye may safely come unto his majesty. Sir, quoth my lord, as I suppose Master Kingston is constable of the Tower. Yea, what of that? Quoth the earl. I assure you he is only appointed by the king for one of your friends, and for a discreet gentleman, as most worthy to take upon him the safe conduct of your person. For without fail the king favoureth you much more, and beareth towards you a secret special favour, far otherwise than ye do take it. Well, sir, quoth my lord, as God will, so be it. I am subject to fortune, and to fortune I submit myself, being a true man, ready to accept such ordinances as God hath provided for me, and there an end. Sir, I pray you, where is Master Kingston? Marry, quoth the earl, if ye will, I will send for him, who would most gladly see you. I pray you then, quoth my lord, send for him. At whose message he came incontinent, and as soon as my lord espied him coming into the gallery, he made haste to encounter him. Master Kingston came towards him with much reverence, and at his approach he kneeled down and saluted him on the king's behalf, whom my lord, bareheaded, offered to take up, but he still kneeled. Then, quoth my lord, Master Kingston, I pray you stand up, and leave your kneeling unto a very wretch replete with misery, not worthy to be esteemed, but for a vile, abject, utterly cast away, without desert. And therefore, good Master Kingston, stand up, or I will myself kneel down by you. With that Mr. Kingston stood up, saying, with humble reverence, Sir, the king's majesty hath him commanded unto you. I thank his highness, quoth my lord. I trust he be in health and merry, the which I beseech God long continue. Yea, without doubt, quoth Master Kingston, and so hath he commanded me first to say unto you, that you should assure yourself that he beareth you as much good will and favour as ever he did, and willeth you to be of good cheer. And where report hath been made unto him that ye should commit against his royal majesty certain heinous crimes, which he thinketh to be untrue, yet for the administration of justice in such cases requisite, and to avoid all suspect partiality, he can do no less, at the least, than to send for you to your trial, mistrusting nothing your truth and wisdom, but that ye shall be able to acquit yourself against all complaints and accusations exhibited against you, and to take your journey towards him at your own pleasure, commanding me to be attendant upon you with ministration of due reverence, and to see your person preserved from all damage and inconveniences that might ensue, and to elect all such your old servants, now his, to answer you by the way, who have most experience of your diet. Therefore, sir, I beseech your grace to be of good cheer, and when it shall be your good pleasure to take your journey, I shall give mine attendance. Master Kingston, quoth my lord, I thank you for your good news, and, sir, hereof assure yourself that if I were as able and as lusty as I have been but of late, I would not fail to ride with you in post. But, sir, I am diseased with a flux that maketh me very weak. But, Master Kingston, all these comfortable words which ye have spoken be but for a purpose to bring me in a fool's paradise. I know what is provided for me. Notwithstanding, I thank you for your good will and pains taken about me, and I shall with all speed make me ready to ride with you to morrow." And thus they fell into other communication, both the Earl and Master Kingston, with my lord, who commanded me to foresee and provide that all things might be made ready to depart the morrow after. I caused all things to be trussed up and made in a readiness as fast as they could conveniently. When night came that we should go to bed, my lord waxed very sick through his new disease, the which caused him continually from time to time to go to the stool all that night, insomuch from the time that his disease took him unto the next day he had often 50 stools, so that he was that day very weak. The matter that he voided was wondrous black, the which physicians call choler adustin, and when he perceived it he said to me, "If I have not some help shortly it will cost me my life." With that I caused one Dr. Nicholas, a physician, being with the Earl, to look upon the gross matter that he voided, upon sight whereof he determined how he should not live past 4 or 5 days. Yet notwithstanding he would have ridden with Master Kingston that same day, if the Earl of Shrewsbury had not been. Therefore, in consideration of his infirmity, they caused him to tarry all that day. And the next day he took his journey with Master Kingston and the guard, and as soon as they espied their old master in such a lamentable estate, lamented him with weeping eyes, whom my lord took by the hands, and divers times by the way, as he rode, he would talk with them, sometime with one, and sometime with another. At night he was lodged at a house of the Earl of Shrewsbury's, called Hardwicke Hall. Note, this was Hardwicke upon Lyne in Nottinghamshire, not Hardwicke in Derbyshire. End of note. Very evil at ease. The next day he rode to Nottingham, and there lodged that night, more sicker, and the next day he rode to Leicester Abbey, and by the way he waxed so sick that he was divers times likely to have fallen from his mule. And being night, or we came to the abbey aforesaid, where at his coming in at the gates the abbot of the place with all his convent met him with the light of many torches, whom they right honorably received with great reverence, to whom my lord said, "Father Abbot, I am come hither to leave my bones among you," whom they brought on his mule to the stairs foot of his chamber, and there lighted, and Master Kingdom then took him by the arm and led him up the stairs, who told me afterwards that he never carried so heavy a burden in all his life, and as soon as he was in his chamber he went incontinent to his bed, very sick. This was upon Saturday at night, and there he continued sicker and sicker. Upon Monday in the morning, as I stood by his bedside, about 8 of the clock, the windows being closed shut, having wax lights burning upon the cupboard, I beheld him, as he seemed, drawing fast to his end. He perceived my shadow upon the wall by his bedside, asked who was there. "Sir, I am here," quoth I. "How do you?" quoth he to me. "Very well, sir," quoth I. "If I might see your grace well." "What is it of the clock?" said he to me. "Forsooth, sir," said I, "it is past 8 of the clock in the morning." "8 of the clock," quoth he. "That cannot be," rehearsing divers times. "8 of the clock, 8 of the clock. Nay, nay," quoth he at the last, "it cannot be 8 of the clock, for by 8 of the clock ye shall lose your master, for my time draweth near that I must depart out of this world." With that Master Dr. Palms, a worshipful gentleman, being his chaplain and ghostly father, standing by, bade me secretly demand of him if he would be shriven, and to be in a readiness towards God, whatsoever should chance. At whose desire I asked him that question. "What have you to do," quoth he, "to ask me such a question?" and began to be very angry with me for my presumption, until at last Master Doctor took my part and talked with him in Latin, and so pacified him. and after dinner Master Kingston sent for me into his chamber, and at my being there said to me, So it is that the King hath sent me letters by this gentleman, Master Vincent, one of your old companions, who hath been of late in trouble in the Tower of London for money that my lord should have at his last departing from him, which now cannot be found. Wherefore the King, at this gentleman's request, for the declaration of his truth, hath sent him hither with his Grace's letters directed unto me, commanding me by virtue thereof to examine my lord in that behalf, and to have your counsel herein, how it may be done, that he may take it well and in good part. This is the chief cause of my sending for you. Wherefore I pray you, what is your best counsel to use in this matter for the true acquittal of this gentleman? Sir, quoth I, as touching that matter, my simple advice shall be this, that your own person shall resort unto him and visit him, and in communication break the matter unto him, and if he will not tell the truth, there be that can satisfy the King's pleasure therein, and in any wise speak nothing of my fellow Vincent. And I would not advise you to tract the time with him, for he is very sick, and I fear me he will not live past tomorrow in the morning. Then went Master Kingston unto him, and asked first how he did, and so forth proceeded in communication, wherein Master Kingston demanded of him the said money, saying, That my lord of Northumberland hath found a book at Cawood, that reporteth how ye had but late £1,500 in ready money, and one penny thereof will not be found, who hath made the King privy by his letters thereof. Wherefore the King hath written unto me to demand it of ye if ye do know where it is become, for it were pity that it should be embezzled from you both. Therefore I shall require you in the King's name to tell me the truth herein, to the intent that I may make such report unto his Majesty, what answer ye make therein. With that my lord paused a while, and said, Ah, good lord, how much doth it grieve me that the King should think in me such deceit, wherein I should deceive him of any one penny that I have, rather than I would, Master Kingston, embezzle or deceive him of a mite. I would it were mote and put in my mouth. Which words he spake twice or thrice very vehemently. I have nothing, nor never had, God being my judge, that I esteemed or had in it any such delight or pleasure, but that I took it for the King's goods, having but the bare use of the same during my life, and after my death to leave it to the King, wherein he hath but prevented my intent and purpose. And for this money that ye demand of me, I assure you it is none of mine, for I borrowed it of divers of my friends to bury me, and to bestow among my servants, who have taken great pains about me, like true and faithful men, notwithstanding if it be his pleasure to take this money from me, I must hold me therewith content, yet I would most humbly beseech his Majesty to see them satisfied of whom I borrowed the same for the discharge of my conscience. Who be they? Quoth Master Kingston. That shall I show you, said my lord. I borrowed £200 thereof of Sir John Allen of London, and £200 of Sir Richard Gresham, and £200 of the Master of the Savoy, and £200 of Dr. Higden, Dean of my college in Oxford, and £200 of the Treasurer of the Church of York, and £200 of the Dean of York, and £200 of Parson Ellis, my chaplain, and £100 of my steward, whose name I have forgotten, trusting that the King will restore them again their money, for it is none of mine. Sir, quoth Master Kingdom, There is no doubt in the king. Ye need not to mistrust that, but when the king shall be advertised thereof, to whom I shall make report of your request, that his grace will do as shall become him. But, sir, I pray you, where is this money? Master Kingston, quoth he, I will not conceal it from the king. I will declare it to you, or I die, by the grace of God. Take a little patience with me, I pray you. Well, sir, then I will trouble you no more at this time, trusting that ye will show me to-morrow. Yea, that I will, Master Kingston, for the money is safe enough, and in an honest man's keeping, who will not keep one penny from the king. And then Master Kingston went to his chamber to supper. End of Section 28. Section 29 of The Life and Death of Cardinal Wolsey. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain, read by John Greenman. Part 29. Howbeit my lord waxed very sick, most likeliest to die that night, and often swooned, and as methought drew fast towards his end, until it was 4 of the clock in the morning, at which time I asked him how he did. Well, quoth he, if I had any meat, I pray you give me some. Sir, there is none ready, said I. I wis ye be the more to blame, for you should have always some meat for me in a readiness to eat when my stomach serveth me. Therefore I pray you get me some, for I intend this day, God willing, to make me strong, to the intent I may occupy myself in confession, and make me ready to God. Then, sir, quoth I will call up the cook to provide some meat for you, and will also, if it be your pleasure, call for Master Palms, that ye may commune with him until your meat be ready. With a good will, quoth he. And therewith I went first, and called up the cook, commanding him to prepare some meat for my lord. And then I went to Master Palms, and told him what case my lord was in, willing him to rise, and to resort to him with speed. And then I went to Master Kingston, and gave him warning, that, as I thought, he would not live, advertising him that if he had anything to say to him, that he should make haste, for he was in great danger. In good faith, quoth Master Kingston, ye be to blame, for ye make him believe that he is sicker and in more danger than he is. Well, sir, quoth I, ye shall not say another day but that I gave you warning, as I am bound to do in discharge of my duty. Therefore I pray you, whatso end shall chance, let no negligence be ascribed to me herein, for I assure you his life is very short. Do therefore now as you think best. Yet nevertheless he rose, and made him ready, and came to him. After he had eaten of a cullis made of a chicken, a spoonful or two, at the last quoth he, Whereof was this cullis made? Forsooth, sir, quoth I, of a chicken. Why, quoth he, it is fasting day, and St. Andrew's Eve. What though, sir? Quoth Dr. Palms, ye be excused by reason of your sickness. Yea, quoth he, what though? I will eat no more. Then was he in confession the space of an hour. And when he had ended his confession, Master Kingston bade him good morrow, for it was about 7 of the clock in the morning, and asked him how he did. Sir, quoth he, I tarry but the will and pleasure of God, to render unto him my simple soul into his divine hands. Not yet so, sir, quoth Master Kingston, with the grace of God ye shall live, and do very well, if ye will be of good cheer. Master Kingston, my disease is such that I cannot live. I have had some experience in my disease, and thus it is. I have a flux, with a continual fever. The nature whereof is this, that if there be no alteration with me of the same within 8 days, then must either ensue excoriation of the entrails, or frenzy, or else present death, and the best thereof is death. And as I suppose this is the 8th day, and if ye see in me no alteration, then is there no remedy, although I may live a day or twain, but death, which is the best remedy of the three. Nay, sir, in good faith, quoth Master Kingston, ye be in such dolour and pensiveness, doubting that thing indeed ye need not to fear, which maketh you much worse than ye should be. Well, well, Master Kingston, quoth he, I see the matter against me how it is framed. But if I had served God as diligently as I have done the king, he would not have given me over in my gray hairs. Howbeit, this is the just reward that I must receive for my worldly diligence and pains that I have had to do him service, only to satisfy his vain pleasure, not regarding my godly duty. Wherefore I pray you with all my heart to have me most humbly commended unto his royal majesty, beseeching him in my behalf to call to his most gracious remembrance all matters proceeding between him and me from the beginning of the world unto this day, and the progress of the same, and most chiefly in the weighty matter yet depending, meaning the matter newly began between him and good Queen Catherine. Then shall his conscience declare whether I have offended him or no. He is sure a prince of royal courage, and hath a princely heart, and rather than he will either miss or want any part of his will or appetite, he will put the loss of one half of his realm in danger, for I assure you I have often kneeled before him in his privy chamber on my knees, the space of an hour or two, to persuade him from his will and appetite, but I could never bring to pass to dissuade him therefrom. Therefore, Master Kingston, if it chance hereafter you to be one of his privy council, as for your wisdom and other qualities ye be meet so to be, I warn you to be well advised and assured what matter ye put in his head, for ye shall never put it out again. And say furthermore, that I request his grace, in God's name, that he have a vigilant eye to depress this new pernicious sect of the Lutherans, that it do not increase within his dominions through his negligence, in such a sort as that he shall be fain at length to put harness upon his back to subdue them, as the King of Bohemia did, who had good game to see his rude commons, then infected with Wycliffe's heresies, to spoil and murder the spiritual men and religious persons of his realm, the which fled to the king and his nobles for succor against their frantic rage, of whom they could get no help of defense or refuge, but laughed them to scorn, having good game at their spoil and consumption, not regarding their duties nor their own defense. And when these erroneous heretics had subdued all the clergy and spiritual persons, taking the spoil of their riches, both of churches, monasteries, and all other spiritual things, having no more to spoil, they caught such a courage of their former liberty, that then they disdained their prince and sovereign lord, with all other noble personages, and the head governors of the country, and began to fall in hand with the temporal lords, to slay and spoil them, without pity or mercy, most cruelly, insomuch that the king and other his nobles were constrained to put harness upon their backs to resist the ungodly powers of those traitorous heretics, and to defend their lives and liberties, who pitched a field royal against them, in which field these traitors so stoutly encountered, that the part of them were so cruel and vehement, that in fine they were victors, and slew the king, the lords, and all the gentlemen of the realm, leaving not one person that bare the name or port of a gentleman alive, or of any person that had any rule or authority in the commonweal. By means of which slaughter they have lived ever since in great misery and poverty, without a head or governor, but lived all in common like wild beasts, abhorred of all Christian nations. Let this be to him an evident example to avoid the like danger, I pray you. Good Master Kingston, there is no trust in routs or unlawful assemblies of the common people, for when the riotous multitude be assembled, there is among them no mercy or consideration of their bounden duty, as in the history of King Richard the Second, one of his noble progenitors, which lived in that same time of Wycliffe's seditious opinions. Did not the Commons, I pray you, rise against the king and the nobles of the realm of England, whereof some they apprehended, whom they without mercy or justice put to death? And did they not fall to spoiling and robbery, to the intent they might bring all things in common, and at the last, without discretion or reverence, spared not in their rage to take the king's most royal person out of the Tower of London, and carried him about the city most presumptuously, causing him, for the preservation of his life, to be agreeable to their lewd proclamations? Did not also the traitorous heretic Sir John Oldcastle pitch a field against King Henry the Fifth, against whom the king was constrained to encounter in his royal person, to whom God gave the victory? Alas, Master Kingston, if these be not plain precedents, and sufficient persuasions to admonish a prince to be circumspect against the semblable mischief, and if he be so negligent, then will God strike and take from him his power, and diminish his regality, taking from him his prudent counselors and valiant captains, and leave us in our own hands without his help and aid. And then will ensue mischief upon mischief, inconvenience upon inconvenience, barrenness and scarcity of all things for lack of good order in the commonwealth, to the utter destruction and desolation of this noble realm, from which mischiefs God for his tender mercy defend us. Master Kingston, farewell. I can no more, but wish all things to have good success. My time draweth on fast. I may not tarry with you, and forget not, I pray you, what I have said and charged you withal. For when I am dead, ye shall peradventure remember my words much better. And even with these words he began to draw his speech at length, and his tongue to fail, his eyes being set in his head, whose sight failed him. Then we began to put him in remembrance of Christ's passion, and sent for the abbot of the place to anneal him, who came with all speed, and ministered unto him all the service to the same belonging, and caused also the guard to stand by, both to hear him talk before his death, and also to witness of the same. And incontinent the clock struck 8, at which time he gave up the ghost, and thus departed he this present life. and calling to our remembrance his words the day before, how he said that at 8 of the clock we should lose our master, one of us looking upon another, supposing that he prophesied of his departure. End of Section 29. Section 30 of The Life and Death of Cardinal Wolsey. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain, read by John Greenman. Part 30. Here is the end and fall of pride and arrogancy of such men exalted by fortune to honors and high dignities, for I assure you, in his time of authority and glory, he was the oldest man in all his proceedings that then lived, having more respect to the worldly honor of his person than he had to his spiritual profession, wherein should be all meekness, humility, and charity, the process whereof I leave to them that be learned and seen in the divine laws. After that he was thus departed, Master Kingston sent an empost to the king to advertise him of the death of the late Cardinal of York by one of the guard, that both saw and heard him talk and die. And then Master Kingston, calling me unto him and to the abbot, went to the consultation for the order of his burial. After divers communications, it was thought good that he should be buried the next day following, for Master Kingston would not tarry the return of the empost. And it was further thought good that the Mayor of Leicester and his brethren should be sent for, to see him personally dead, in avoiding of false rumors that might hap to say that he was not dead but still living. Then was the Mayor and his brethren sent for, and in the meantime the body was taken out of the bed where he lay dead, who had upon him, next his body, a shirt of hair besides his other shirt, which was of very fine linen Holland cloth. This shirt of hair was unknown to all his servants, being continually attending upon him in his bedchamber, except to his chaplain, which was his ghostly father, wherein he was buried, and laid in a coffin of boards, having upon his dead corpse all such vestures and ornaments as he was professed in when he was consecrated bishop and archbishop, as mitre, crosier, ring, and pall, with all other things appurtenant to his profession. And lying thus all day in his coffin, open and barefaced, that all men might see him lie there, dead without feigning. Then, when the Mayor, his brethren, and all other had seen him lying thus until 4 or 5 of the clock at night, he was carried so down into the church with great solemnity by the abbot and convent, with many torches light, singing such service as is due for such funerals. And being in the church, the corpse was set in Our Lady Chapel, with many and divers tapers of wax burning about the hearse, and divers poor men sitting about the same, holding of torches lighted in their hands, who watched about the dead body all night, whilst the canons sang dirige, and other devout orisons. And about 4 of the clock in the morning they sang mass. And that done, and the body interred, Master Kingston, with us, being his servants, were present at his said funeral, and offered at his mass. And by that time that all things was finished, and all ceremonies that to such a person was decent and convenient, it was about 6 of the clock in the morning. Then prepared we to horseback, being St. Andrew's Day the Apostle, and so took our journey towards the court, being at Hampton Court, where the king then lay. And after we came thither, which was upon St. Nicholas' Eve, we gave attendance upon the council for our depêche. Upon the morrow I was sent for by the king to come to his grace, and being in Master Kingston's chamber in the court, had knowledge thereof, and repairing to the king, I found him shooting at the rounds in the park, on the back side of the garden, and perceiving him occupied in shooting, thought it not my duty to trouble him, but leaned to a tree, intending to stand there, and to attend his gracious pleasure. Being in a great study, at the last the king came suddenly behind me, where I stood, and clapped his hand upon my shoulder, and when I perceived him I fell upon my knee. To whom he said, calling me by name, I will, quoth he, make an end of my game, and then will I talk with you, and so departed to his mark, whereat the game was ended. Then the king delivered his bow to the yeomen of his bows, and went his way inward to the place, whom I followed. Howbeit he called for Sir John Gage, with whom he talked, until he came at the garden postern gate, and there entered, the gate being shut after him, which caused me to go my ways. And being gone but a little distance, the gate was opened again, and there Sir Harry Norris called me again, commanding me to come in to the king, who stood behind the door in a nightgown of russet velvet, furred with sables, before whom I kneeled down, being with him there all alone the space of an hour and more, during which time he examined me of divers weighty matters concerning my lord, wishing that liever than £20,000 that he had lived. Then he asked me for the £1,500 which Master Kingston moved to my lord before his death. Sir, said I think that I can tell your grace partly where it is. Yea, can you? Quoth the king. Then I pray you tell me, and you shall do us much pleasure, nor it shall not be unrewarded. Sir, said I, if it please your highness, after the departure of David Vincent from my lord at Scroby, who had then the custody thereof, leaving the same with my lord in divers bags, sealed with my lord's seal, he delivered the same money in the same bag sealed unto a certain priest, whom I named to the king, safely to keep to his use. Is this true? Quoth the king. Yea, sir, quoth I, without all doubt. The priest shall not be able to deny it in my presence, for I was at the delivery thereof. Well then, quoth the king, let me alone keep this gear secret between yourself and me, and let no man be privy thereof, for if I hear any more of it, then I know by whom it is come to knowledge. Three may, quoth he, keep counsel if two be away, and if I thought that my cap knew my counsel, I would cast it into the fire and burn it. And for your truth and honesty ye shall be one of our servants, and in that same room with us that ye were with your old master. Therefore go to Sir John Gage, our vice chamberlain, to whom I have spoken already to give you your oath, and to admit you our servant in the same room, and then go to my lord of Norfolk, and he shall pay you all your whole year's wages, which is £10. Is it not so? Quoth the king. Yes, forsooth, sir, quoth I, and I am behind thereof for 3/4 of a year. That is true, quoth the king, for so we be informed. Therefore ye shall have your whole year's wages, with our reward delivered you by the Duke of Norfolk. The king also promised me furthermore to be my singular good and gracious lord whensoever occasion should serve, and thus I departed from him. And as I went, I met with Master Kingston coming from the council, who commanded me in their names to go straight unto them, whom they had sent for by him. And in any wise, quoth he, for God's sake take good heed what ye say, for ye shall be examined of such certain words as my lord your late master had at his departure, and if you tell them the truth, quoth he, what he said you shall undo yourself, for in any wise they will not hear of it. Therefore be circumspect what answer ye make to their demands. Why, sir, quoth I, how have ye done therein yourself? Marry, quoth he, I have utterly denied that ever I heard any such words, and he that opened the matter first is fled for fear, which was the yeoman of the guard that rode empost to the king from Leicester. Therefore go your ways, God send you good speed, and when you have done, come to me into the chamber of presence, where I shall tarry your coming to see how you speed, and to know how ye have done with the king. Thus I departed, and went directly to the council chamber door. And as soon as I was come, I was called in among them, and being there, my Lord of Norfolk spake to me first, and bade me welcome to the court, and said, My lords, this gentleman hath both justly and painfully served the Cardinal his master like an honest and diligent servant. Therefore I doubt not but of such questions as ye shall demand of him, he will make just report. I dare undertake the same for him. How say ye? It is reported that your master spake certain words, even before his departure out of this life, the truth whereof I doubt not ye know. And as ye know, I pray you report, and fear not for no man. Ye shall not need to swear him, therefore go to. How say you? Is it true that is reported? Forsooth, sir, quoth I was so diligent attending more to the preservation of his life than I was to note and mark every word that he spake. And, sir, indeed he spake many idle words, as men in such extremities do, the which I cannot now remember. If it please your lordships to call before you Master Kingston, he will not fail to show you the truth. Marry, so have we done already, quoth they, who hath been here presently before us, and hath denied utterly that ever he heard any such words spoken by your master at the time of his death, or at any time before. Forsooth, my lords, quoth I, then I can say no more, for if he heard them not, I could not hear them, for he heard as much as I, and I as much as he. Therefore, my lords, it were much folly for me to declare anything of untruth which I am not able to justify. Lo, quoth my Lord of Norfolk, I told you as much before. Therefore go your ways, quoth he to me. You are dismissed, and come again to my chamber anon, for I must needs talk with you. I most humbly thanked them, and so departed, and went into the chamber of presence to meet with Master Kingston, whom I found standing in communication with an ancient gentleman, usher of the King's Privy Council, called Master Radcliffe. And at my coming Master Kingston demanded of me if I had been with the council, and what answer I made them. I said again that I had satisfied them sufficiently with my answer, and told him the manner of it. And then he asked me how I sped with the King, and I told him partly of our communication, and of his Grace's benevolence and princely liberality, and how he commanded me to go to my Lord of Norfolk. As we were speaking of him, he came from the council into the chamber of presence. As soon as he espied me, he came into the window, where I stood with Master Kingston and Master Radcliffe, to whom I declared the King's pleasure. These two gentlemen desired him to be my good lord. Nay, quoth he, I will be better unto him than ye ween, for if I could have spoken with him before he came to the King, I would have had him to my service. The King excepted, he should have done no man's service in all England but only me. And look what I may do for you. I will do it with right good will. Sir, then, quoth I, will it please your Grace to move the King's majesty in my behalf to give me one of the carts and horses that brought up my stuff with my lord's, which is now in the Tower, to carry it into my country? Yea, marry will I, quoth he, and returned again to the King, for whom I tarried still with Master Kingston and Master Radcliffe, who said that he would go in and help my lord in my suit with the King. And incontinent my lord came forth, and showed me how the King was my good and gracious lord, and had given me 6 of the best horses that I could choose amongst all my lord's cart horses, with a cart to carry my stuff, and 5 marks for my costs homewards, and hath commanded me, quoth he, to deliver you £10 for your wages, being behind unpaid, and £20 for a reward, who commanded to call for Master Secretary to make a warrant for all these things. Then was it told him that Master Secretary was gone to Hanworth for that night. Then commanded he one of the messengers of the chamber to ride unto him in all haste for these warrants. and willed me to meet with him the next day at London, and there to receive both my money, my stuff, and horses that the King gave me. And so I did, of whom I received all things according, and then I returned into my country. And thus ended the life of my late lord and master, the rich and triumphant legate and Cardinal of England, on whose soul Jesu have mercy. Amen. Finis quod G.C. Who list to read and consider with an indifferent eye this history may behold the wondrous mutability of vain honors, brittle assurance of abundance, the uncertainty of dignities, the flattering of feigned friends, and the tickled trust to worldly princes, whereof this Lord Cardinal hath felt both of the sweet and the sour in each degree, as fleeting from honors, losing of riches, deposed from dignities, forsaken of friends, and the inconstantness of princes' favor, of all which things he hath had in this world the full felicity, as long as fortune smiled upon him. But when she began to frown, how soon was he deprived of all these dreaming joys and vain pleasures, the which in 20 years with great travail, study, and pains obtained, were in 1 year and less, with heaviness, care, and sorrow, lost and consumed. O madness! O foolish desire! O fond hope! O greedy desire of vain honors, dignities, and riches! O what inconstant trust and assurance is in rolling fortune! Wherefore the prophet said full well, Thesaurissat et ignorat qui congregabit ea. Who is certain to whom he shall leave his treasure and riches that he hath gathered together in this world? It may chance him to leave it unto such as he hath purposed, but the wise man saith, that another person, who peradventure he hated in his life, shall spend it out and consume it. End of Section 30, and end of The Life and Death of Cardinal Wolsey by George Cavendish.